Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Megan Connor, and I am one of the English teachers at the high school. And today, Melanie Gates and I are going to be taking you through a crash course in Canva. So on our agenda today, we are going to set up an account for Canva, which is super easy. It's just using your Google credentials that you're normally using. And then we're also going to walk you through how to create content in Canva. So some of the things we'll go over include modifying text, what an element versus a photo is, changing a background on something, and then copying and duplicating pages. So the outcomes of this training, we have including creating a Canva account. So again, signing in using your Google credentials, and then also building your own content. So we'll show you two different ways to do that. The first way would be with a template, so something that's pre-created in Canva that you can then go in and edit, and then also from scratch. So starting from a blank canvas if you feel like you're ready for that to create your own content. So basically what Canva is, we kind of think of it as Photoshop or like InDesign, but way more simplified, and everything is in this one platform. So you're not having to go and find and save images and then open them up in a different program. Everything's very centralized to Canva, which makes it so much easier to create content. So we're going to take you through some of the things that we've made on Canva, and this is not the all-inclusive list of things that you can make, but these are just some of the things that we've been using, both in the classroom and then in Melanie's role too, doing more district-wide things. Can you go back to the other slide? Thank you. Okay, so the first one on the left here is Google Classroom headers, and these are actual headers that I'm using right now for my freshman English class and then my senior lit and film class. And I think it just gives a little bit more personality, and you can theme it to what you're teaching, maybe a holiday or a different unit that you're doing if you teach elementary. For lit and film, I've themed that towards movies because we're watching film. Melanie, do you want to talk about the Google form headers?
Yes, thank you, Megan. I have first started using Canva really to create these Google form headers because I wanted our forms to have a little personality and a bit of our district and school branding on them. It was super easy to do. I honestly do not have much of a creative bone in my body, and I had never engaged with Photoshop before, but I found Canva to be a super easy, friendly to use program, and lo and behold, it's also available for free. And there are benefits for educators who wish to sign up for Canva using their education or their school district's email. So the creation of Google Classroom headers and Google Form headers is the same. You can add your own personality and style and branding to your content to express yourself, but also I think it shows just a little bit of polish and enthusiasm for your class or for our brand as a district in how we represent ourselves with such items.
So Canva is also really great to pair with other applications that you're already using in your classroom. So for example, I found it to be really, really great with Jamboard. The blue section and the white kind of text box area with the question in it on this Jamboard. This was an introductory Jamboard I did with one of my classes when we started back in February. So the benefit of using Canva paired with Jamboard is that on a background, you can't necessarily move any of that content. So as the kids are editing that slide, they can't touch that and it won't disappear. It'll be there. And it also adds a little bit of personality too. You could theme it to a particular lesson that you're doing. Or if you wanted to, you could create different quadrants for an agree, disagree, strongly disagree type of activity. On the right-hand side is a worksheet that I've created for Lord of the Flies. So it was a character analysis worksheet. So as we go through and read Lord of the Flies, I have the kids fill out any new information we learn about the characters. And that's just an application for the secondary classroom, and that's something I've created on my own. But there's so many great worksheet templates that already exist in Canva that you could go in and edit and create something nice for your class and not have to do a whole lot of work or start from scratch.
Now, one of the great things with being able to create content in Canva, as you will learn as we move forward, is that you can export it in a variety of formats. And with Megan's worksheet that she shared, it's beautiful, it's in color, which means there would be a challenge if we wanted to print that in hard copy here in district. But through the beauty of another application called Cami, you can create these worksheets, export them as a PDF, and use them as a PDF through Cami, where students can personalize their responses on these worksheets. So you can think of it as a worksheet in the traditional sense, but you can also deploy it through technology as well without having to worry about hard copy.
So the most frequent way that I use Canva in my classroom is with Google Slides. And the whole presentation that we're doing right now, we actually made with Canva too. But this was the reason why I started using Canva, was because I wanted to create slides that were themed and a little bit more personalized to what I was doing in my classroom. And I wasn't super happy with the Google Slides templates that I was finding online. So this is the most frequent thing that I use in my classroom. And I think when you make things visually engaging, the kids tend to be a little bit more engaged with the content as well. So on the left side here, I have a mystery and whodunit genre study that my seniors in Lit and Film completed before we watched Knives Out. So it's a little bit small, but you can probably tell that there's some images like with detective and clues. And so it just looks a little bit more fun. And then on the right side was an introductory nameplate activity that my students did at the beginning of Lit and Film. So those two slides, the first one on the top was the first slide, just the introductory slide. And then the second slide was directions. So all of the students had access to editing one document and they each created their own slide. So by using Canva, I was able to download my slides as JPEGs and upload them as backgrounds so that the kids then could edit the content or like accidentally delete anything. So it just made it a little bit easier knowing that everything would still be there and nobody could accidentally delete the directions.
I love, Meg, how you were sharing that, the more engaging the slides look, the more engaged students can be. And it certainly, I think, draws kids in. So that's just awesome. Just another great way to use Canva. I've used Canva in a wide variety of ways since I first started, where my real sole purpose was to just create Google Form headers. I recently learned how to make animated graphics, and you'd be so surprised at how easy it is. You would think making something like this would require a lot of technological skill, but it really doesn't. A couple clicks of the button and you too can make an animated graphic. On the other side there, we have an infographic that I made over the period of the initial closure, probably back last April or so, with the collaboration of our phenomenal literacy coaches at the elementary level. They wanted to put together resources to talk about reading at home. So I was real easy through a template. I was able to customize it to the content that we wanted in our infographic, and it was super easy to do. I've made additional materials too. Canva is something that you don't have to just use professionally, albeit the promotional materials I'm featuring here are somewhat professional, but I'm involved in BorrowBot, a community makerspace here in town. and we were seeking sponsorships for our sea perch or our underwater robotics teams. And I created that flyer to be able to recruit people at different sponsorship levels. Also create certificates such as the one here to honor Mrs. Gunnison for her heroic efforts back in January to save a child at the Early Childhood Center. Super easy to do, and I think it just adds a nice polish to it that we can personalize it to our brand here in Middleborough. So that's a little bit about how or what you can do with Canva. In order to do with Canva, you have to make an account, and making an account is super easy. All you have to do is be logged into your school Gmail account, and you direct your web browser to canva.com. You can click the sign up button, and you can select that you'll use your school Gmail to create your account, and boom, you'll be in. You'll have an account associated with your school email address, and all you have to do is choose to log in and out through Google. Super easy to do. And when you use your Middleborough email account to create your Canva account, it will allow you to have a Canva for Education account, which gives you enhanced benefits to the free account that you're establishing. Super easy to do. So we're going to take a step out of our slides and actually get into Canva. So I'm already logged in up here in the upper right-hand corner. I'm logged in as a test teacher. But let me just show you real quick. If I go to canva.com, their main page, you click the sign up button when you initially want to make your account, and you can use your school Gmail to do so. But then when you've created your account, all you have to do is click log in, choose to log in with Google. And again, as long as you are logged in with your school Google account, you can access your information. So this is actually my real account, and you can see that I have all sorts of different content that I've created here. But I'm going to show you some of what it would look like if you are just creating your account for the first time. So I'm choosing to log in with my test teacher account. Now, when you first land on the homepage here for Canva, you will see a variety of options. Up at the top, you've got home, templates, which when you hover over it, it gives you some different templates based upon different categories. Canva is used a lot by people for social media and marketing purposes, but they also have a whole section that's really dedicated to education as well. But you can make anything you want. So I'm going to start by just something simple. We're going to make a Google Classroom header. So all I did was up at the top, I'm going to search and select Google Classroom header. From there, I get a wide variety of options. I can start with a blank template, or I can spend some time and I can scroll through the variety of options available for templates that have already been created. So I'm just going to pick a random template here. And since I used to be a science teacher, I'm going to select this one. You may notice as I'm hovering over it that it says free. Canva does have content that is paid content if you happen to subscribe to a pro account, but they've got a lot of content available for free. And if you sign up with your school email, you get the Canva for Education account, which actually gives you more content for free than the standard account. So again, you can start from a blank canvas, or you can start with a template. I'm going to pick a template because I think it just gives us the ability to learn a little bit about how Canva can be used for some simple features. And let's just start with the easiest one. While I did teach science, I more specifically taught chemistry. So anywhere where there's text, you can double click into the space and you can replace the text. You can select that text box and you've got the arrow. If I can click on the text box, it gives me that four-way arrow. That means I can move it around. You'll notice as you move things, you see these guides that come up, and the guides are great. Right now, as you see on the screen with the crosshairs for where I have that text, that's saying that this particular text is centered on the page. But the lines can change depending on how you center it in relation to other items on your Google Form header, or Google Classroom header in this case, which I'm glad I made that little faux pas, because the Google Classroom header is also the same as your Google Form header. It has the same dimensions that will allow it to be used in conjunction with Google Forms. So not only can I change the text, I can also go up here to the top bar and I can change the text style. If I don't happen to like that font, I can come in and select whatever font I want. I can also change the size by just changing that up top. You can also change the size by stretching the box. So that's another way, stretching and decreasing the size of the text box also changes the size of your text. You can even change the color. Right up here for text color, it will give you colors associated with the documents already, or you can also pick your own colors from down below in default. Or if you have a particular color that you like, if you like that Middleborough orange, that is hashtags, I forget now, 6927, something to that effect. I forget what the actual code is off the top of my head, but nonetheless, you can use whatever hex code you want here in order to change the color of your font. In addition to changing the color of your font, you can change the different photos or elements that are in your header. So on the sidebar here on the left, you have upload, which allows you to upload your own content. So if, for example, if you wanted to include the district logo or your school logo, or any other image that you want, or video or even audio, you can just upload it here. They have a photo bank that's available that you can search. So if I wanted a different graphic for chemistry, I could just type it in and see what is available to me. You'll see as I hover over this picture here in the bottom right-hand corner, it says EDU, which means I'm getting access to this picture because of my Canva for Education account. You may see others that show free, and you may even see some that show that you have to pay for them. You can use the filter up here in the search bar, and you can say, okay, I want something that's free, or I want something that's education because I do have a Canva for Education account. You can narrow it down also by color and orientation. But there are more photos than what you could even imagine within Canva. So let's say I like this one down here with the flasks and the test tubes and such. All you have to do is take that content, grab it, and drag it into your header. You can see as I start to move that image around, I get different guides that pop up. So it almost makes it foolproof for how one might align their content within Canva. Now, let's say I don't like that picture and I really want to use this one here. So I can take and I can drag that in, and you might notice as I'm bringing this picture in and I bring it over the one I want to replace, boom, it takes its place for you. You can also just click on that image, and up the top, you can hit delete. Let's say I don't want that brain here. Again, I could hit delete up on the top toolbar. I can also hit delete on my keyboard. Those functions work as well. Now, I'm going to bring this back. I want to change my color, make it look more natural. Let's say I want to explore what elements I have available. Elements are different than photos. Photos are just that. They are a actual photo. Under elements, you can get different things such as lines, shapes, something that they call frames, different grids. Let's start with a frame. I'm going to take this nicely shaped frame and I'm going to bring it into my graphic. Now what this frame does is it will do what it says. It will frame out a picture. So you can take a picture. Let's say I want to go back here. I'm going to take this nice one with the glassware. I'm going to drag it in. And when I bring it to that frame, you'll notice that the picture takes the shape of the frame. Now I can make these frames bigger. I can even make them smaller. I could even rotate the pictures. And you can see it shows you the degrees that the picture is being rotated. And again, that was just by clicking this icon with the arrows in a circular fashion. And you'll notice that my mouse also changes its format. So I'm going to make that a little smaller. So let's say I'm making this Google form header, and this is going to be for my block 1 class. And I want to use this same header for all of my classes. I don't have to remake it. I can simply duplicate this header right within the application. So this middle icon here above the image says duplicate page. Click it, and it does what it says. It duplicates the page. So I can just say, okay, I got one for block 1. Now I just need one for block 2. You can even within here, if you are making a whole series of forms, you can just simply add page, and it will give you a page with just the background in the color that was previously shown. Now let's talk about backgrounds. You'll see this nice blue color, this nice teal color here for the background. Let's say I want to change it up for one of my classes. If I go up to the top here after I've selected that page, it's a little hard to see, but there is a bit of a border around it from selecting it. If I click on the color icon up to the top here, as I hover over it, you see it says background color. I can simply go in and say, okay, I want this different background color, or I want to, make it a little extra special. I can go over here to my side toolbar, click on backgrounds, and again, a wealth of content that I can search for. So let's see. Oh, geez, no science backgrounds. Well, maybe I like this brick wall. So I just selected the brick wall, and what that did is it put that in as the background on this particular page within this project that I'm working on. You can do a lot with Canva, and this is just a simple example of it. You can see here that there are these different pieces of clip art, so to speak, or in this case, elements that are embedded throughout. If I didn't want this molecule, this organic molecule listed here, presented here, I could certainly delete it. You'll notice it deleted from just this first page and not from the others because they are not linked together. If I didn't mean to delete that, you can just come up top here and click undo, and it will come back. Let's say I don't want this third page. You have options to delete those pages as well. Now, let's say I'm happy with what I have for my first ever foray into creating either a Google Classroom header or a Google Form header. And I want to put these to use now. All you have to do is come up here to the download button. You can click it. And here you can select your file type. It will give you suggestions. So it's realizing that this is a form header or a classroom header. So it knows it needs to be a picture file. So the default is PNG, which as it shows you here, it's a high quality image. You can pick JPEG. You can pick other file types as well. I typically go with what is suggested. So if I only want to take and get one of these pages, all I have to do is select what page I do want to download. So I've got my file type. I'm selecting what page I want to download, and then simply hit done, and then download. And as you can see here, it is processing the download. And similar to downloading anything on a computer, it will drop it into your downloads folder. And you can see that down here within the bottom bar of my Chrome page. So that's just a simple go through of how to create something from a template how to modify text, which again, there's super easy to do. If you can edit text on a Word document, on Google Slides, then you can edit text in Canva. You can also change your backgrounds. You can explore the photos and the different elements that are here to be able to customize your content as you see fit. So at this point, we'd like to give you a few moments to play around with Canva yourself. The best way to learn is by doing. So let's get creative. We're going to give you all about 5 minutes. We're going to start ourselves a timer. We're going to give you 5 minutes to go in. If you haven't created your Canva account, please do so already by just using your school Gmail. Be logged into Gmail and go ahead and click sign up. And then once you're in there, do a search for your Google form header and then select a template to begin with and play around. Play around with the text, play around with the background, maybe add a photo or an element. But play around and don't be worried about how it looks. This is your first time.
All right. So to create a presentation in Canva, I'm going to search for presentation. Oh my God, I'm still not in the right. All right. I'm just going to go home. We'll start this from scratch. I'm going to exit out of my other window. Here we go. Okay. All right. So to create a presentation from scratch in Canva, I'm going to search for presentation. And you'll notice that we have all of these different templates still like we did for the Google Classroom header, but we're going to click create a blank presentation. So it comes up with a completely blank slide. So in the event that you did want to use a template, the templates do come up on the left-hand side here. So sometimes it's nice to look through and see what is available and how slides are set up. But if you know what you want to do and you want to get a little creative with it, we'll start off with putting a background. And so for example, for argument's sake, we'll have this be like a chapter 1 of the Great Gatsby slides. I was teaching the Great Gatsby. So if I wanted to put a background in, I'm going to go to background just like we did on the Google Classroom header. Because I'm teaching Gatsby, I might want to have a gold background. So I'll click that gold background, and again, it'll automatically pop in there, so you don't need to drag anything. Super, super simple. But there's also another way that you can do a different background that does give you a few more options, and that would be to use a photo. So I'm up here on the photos, and I might want to type in, again, gold, but maybe I'll do like gold sparkle. And it still comes up with all of these different photos, but whereas you can put the photo in and kind of place it, that doesn't necessarily fill up the whole screen if you wanted to use that as your background. So what you can do is drag it in kind of the same way that you would like switch a picture that Melanie showed you how to do on the Google Classroom header. If you drag it onto your slide, it automatically fills your whole background. So you're not just limited to those options in the background section. You do have a few more options if you were to use that photo section. So I like that. I'm gonna keep that as my background. But now I have to figure out what I want to include on my slide. And so for me, when I'm making slides, a lot of the time I'll have text on them. But if I were just gonna put text on this sparkly background here, it'd probably be a little bit hard to read. So what I tend to do is go to Elements. And just so that there's some contrast between the background and then the text that I'm gonna put, I'm gonna create kind of like a background for a text box on the slide. So the easiest way for me to do that, I found, is just to use a shape, and it automatically comes up with a color. But the nice thing about the shapes and some of the images in the element section of Canva is that you can actually change the color of them to be whatever you want. So it might not, you select an image, it might not automatically come up with kind of the color scheme that you want. So up in the upper left corner here, we can change the color. So it pulls up automatically, again, kind of those colors that are already in the document. But I want this to be white just so that it's nice, everybody can read my text. And then I can drag my square, but I'm gonna make it a little bit wider so it takes up the whole slide. And again, I'm gonna use those bounds, the boundaries, and I'm gonna drag it down a little bit as well. So now when I go in and I put text in this, the text is gonna be very, very easy to read. So to do that, I'm gonna go over on the side here on the left and select text. And you have a few different options. So there are some pre-made kind of fancier text options down the bottom, but just a simple text, we're gonna create a header for this slide. Doesn't necessarily matter which one you choose. They show up as different sizes, but they can be resized. So just for the sake of creating kind of our header for the slide, I'm gonna click Add Heading, and then it'll automatically pop up with a text box here that I can edit. So I'm gonna put The Great Gatsby, Chapter 1. And again, I can resize that text box by dragging it, or I can resize it up at the top here. So I'm going to put this above our kind of text space. But again, maybe I don't love that font. So to change the font, we're going to just go up to the font menu. And you can pick any different type of font that you want. I'll use that one. Again, you can change the color of the font if you want to. But another really cool feature that you can do with fonts is if you go up to effects, you could put a shadow on something. You could put like a lift on it, which is a different type of shadow, basically. You could make the text hollow, which obviously makes that quite hard to read. But I'll switch that back to the black font so we can actually see that. So now that we have our header for our slide, we obviously need to put some text on there. So to do that, rather than hit add a heading, I'm just going to click add a subheading. That way the font will automatically be a little bit smaller. So you can drag this to anywhere, but you'll notice that having the white background, I think, helps definitely with being able to read what you're going to have typed. So when you put in a text box, it automatically centers it on your screen within the space the text will be centered. So to change that, up next to the font color, you can bold, you can italicize. You can also change the alignment. So if I wanted to left justify it, I could just click through. I could right justify it, but I'm going to left justify it. So that way, if you wanted to put like different points, you can do that. But what I tend to do a lot is use bullet points. So if you have all of the text that you want on your slide, or you can do this before as well, next to the alignment, there is a list section, which is basically just bullet points. So if you click that, everything is automatically bullet pointed for you. You may have to delete some if you put enters. So that way your information is bullet pointed and it looks nice and it's easy to read. Again, we can change the font on that. So we can do, let's see. Let's do that one. So our font is changed. We can change the font color as well. Same text effects still apply. I think it's a little bit harder to read sometimes if you're using those text effects on bulleted information. So now that we have a title on this slide, we have some bullet points. Obviously, if this was an actual slide that I was using, I would put actual information on it. But now you might want to add a photograph or an element just to add a little more something to it. So again, we can use the photos feature like we did with the Google Classroom header. So in chapter 1 of The Great Gatsby, the narrator sees Gatsby looking out at a green light. So I might want to put a picture of a green light on the slide. So I could type that in and see what comes up. Lovely picture of a green light. We'll stick that on our slide here. And again, you can resize your pictures just by dragging. Super, super easy. Oops. So I can put that over there in the corner. So that's one option for adding an additional element to your slide. But then we can also use the elements feature. And Gatsby has a lot to do with money. So maybe I want to put some money to reiterate that concept to my students. So I might just search money. And I'll click some dollar bills and put those on there. Again, you can resize. If you wanted to change the color, you can do that. If you're not happy with that color scheme, and you can resize that way. It's obviously not the most kind of beautiful slide. You do have to play with it, I think, a little bit to figure out kind of what you want, but just kind of a quick overview of how to do some things. Again, like the Google Classroom header slide, you can duplicate that page just by hitting the duplicate button. So that way, if I wanted to make another slide for chapter 2, all I would have to do is replace the 1 with the 2, and I would have it that way. You can also add another page, which would just automatically come up with that same background again. And you can do whatever you would want with that then. That's not the only way to set up the slides. Again, I think looking through the templates is something that's really helpful for just seeing how other people set up slides. And obviously this is probably a little bit different for your grade level and content area, depending on how you want to set up your slides and what works best for your kids. So Melanie, do we want to go into how to make a GIF or any of the additional resources?
Yeah, sure thing, Megan. I'm actually, before we do that, I just want to showcase a couple of resources in Canva. So we're going to switch over to back to our slides. So thank you for that, Megan. Canva has so many neat features to it, and we're kind of inundating you with it all, but what we hope is that you're inspired. Now, for those of you who are like super creative, you probably don't need these tools. But if you're like me, that you have to, need help with, matching colors or picking out the right font, they have some different tools available here within Canva to help you. So if you want to make your content look a little bit more beautiful than what I'm able to create for myself, you can check out their color palette generator. So you can do this by simply uploading an image into Canva. So if you find an image that you like, and I'm just going to pick, actually I'm going to pick something with a little bit more color. I am going to pick the HBB logo. So once you visit the Canva color palette generator and you want to figure out what your palette should be for a picture that you're including in your project, you can simply come here and click upload image. If you have an image available, you can find it within your file system. And if I wanted to make something with the Birkeland logo and I wanted to coordinate the colors in my project to make it, optimal, it shows me here what is the most appropriate color palette for using that particular picture. So just a cool little way to kind of make things look even better. I'm next going to jump to font combinations. Again, this is a feature within Canva where if you want to use different fonts, but you want to make sure that your fonts agree, you can come in here and you can select your primary font that you're using. So let's select Fanwood. And what this shows is that Fanwood also correlates to Nimbus Sans. And you can see as I hover over the different font types, it shows you which font it is. So Fanwood is this font here for the primary text within this. Nimbus Sans is the header. So if you know you want to use a particular font as a header, you can then figure out what pairs well with it to beautify your project that you're creating. And there's also this graph maker tool that is available where if you wanted to make a graph for your students and you want it to look visually appealing, you can come right here and make yourself a graph. You just start by giving it a name and click Create My Graph Now, and it walks you through different prompts. If I already know what I want for a graph, I can make this selection. If I need help choosing it, I can do this one here, and it will bring me through different prompts to help me decide. I can easily check that I know what kind of graph I want. And let's say I just want to make a simple bar graph. Again, as we have shown, you can start with a template or you can design your own. In this case, with the first chance of using this, I might say I'm going to use a template, and I like this one here. By selecting that template, it will bring it right into Canva. And now you're probably thinking, well, how am I going to edit this to make it match with my data? Well, all you have to do is double click on the graph and it'll show you what data you can put in here. So let's say I want to change it and I'm doing a comparison of student A and let's say it's student A's, let's just say grade. Not that I would ever post student grades, but you can customize your data that you are putting in the graphical display, and you'll notice that as I type it in on the left, it updates it here within the graph. So just wanted to show you that real simple to start with. But let's take a look at making an animated image. I'm just going to take the Google Classroom header that I've already created, and I want to animate it. So I select this first page, and all I have to do is go up and click animate, and I get different options that I can try out. So I'm going to try, what does block look like? And maybe I want breathe. As I select these different options for my header, and not that you would make an animated header, but you can do this really with any content that you've created. And all you have to do is select animate, and you get all these different options that are here. You'll notice these ones with the crown. I don't believe that you can access these for free. Those are more premium features, but you still have quite a bit to choose from. So just something as simple as this tumble. If that was a graphic I wanted to include in my Google Slides, look how quick and easy that is to create. What is the basic feature of the animation that I want? Once I decide on what I want, I can come up here to download. It suggests that you download it as an MP4 video, but you can also turn it into just a GIF here. So you just select that. Again, you can select what page or within, if you've got multiple pages of your content, you can select if you want to just only have one. Hit done, hit download, and once it's done downloading, you'll have easily made your own animated graphic. Super easy to do. And it just makes things a little bit more fun, because I think part of this is not just making your content look good. I think it's also engaging, piquing students' interest, particularly as they're spending so much time on a screen. I think having things be a little bit more engaging for them might entice them a little further and perk them up in their seats.
So there's also a bunch of really, really awesome worksheet templates in Canva. So to find those, we're going to just type in worksheet. And this, again, you can definitely make something from scratch, but I think there's so many great things that you can just edit and kind of customize to what you need based on a template. So why don't we click, we'll do this Rocket Math. So you still have all of the same features and abilities that you do in making a Google Classroom header or Google Slides, a GIF, anything like that. So you could change your title of this. You could say, rather than Rocket Math, if you wanted to do math practice, and then you might just have to make that a little bit smaller to fit. You could, again, change the font color. If there were specific math facts that you wanted to do, or if you only got up to a certain times table, you could change that out as you needed. If you didn't want to make it rocket ship theme, you obviously could switch out those graphics into something else too. But there's so many possibilities with the worksheets. And again, like with the Google Slides, the Google headers and forms, you also have all of these really, really great pre-made templates that are organized into categories for you already. So if you needed a math worksheet, you could click all and scroll through some of those math worksheets. If you needed an English worksheet, likewise, you could click through and scroll through some of those worksheets too. So for me in secondary, I don't tend to use a lot of these pre-made worksheets because they are, I think, a little bit more geared towards elementary. But if you're in elementary, I think this is a really, really great opportunity to create content that looks really nice and also definitely probably will save you a little bit of time too. The nice thing about this with the worksheets is that, again, you can use it in Cami. So to do that, you would click download. and it automatically suggests that you download it as a PNG. But in order to use it in Kami, you would just have to switch that to a PDF, and then you would download it. You could assign it on Classroom, and your students could edit it that way.
That's awesome, Meg, because sometimes you find a good worksheet and you're like, oh, I wish it was just a little bit more custom to what it is I'm teaching, or to my style or to my language. And I think it's just a quick and easy way to, through Canva, to edit that. And that's awesome. Thank you for sharing it. So we were just trying to appeal to you all for how Canva could spice things up, bring a little sparkle to your life, as Megan was showing with her gold sparkle Google Slides that she was making, or slides to then use in Google Slides. There's so many different ways that you can use Canva. And what we hope we've done is kind of, whet the palate a little bit, got you a little bit interested in this, showed you a little bit with the navigation. And we are happy to make ourselves available for office hours. So if you've got any additional questions, or you want to show us some of the work that you've done, join us Wednesday, March 24th from 4 to 5 p.m. You can join us here on Meet using the nickname Canva, and we'd be happy to work with you on a one-on-one basis or in small groups. But we thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you during our office hours or connecting with us outside of Meet if you have any additional questions.